when you're onboarding a new client, if you skip this step, you could really pay for it later on. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan. Before I get into it, please help me out and hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. Tell YouTube that you like my content. Today, let's talk about contracts. They're very scary, especially if you are new to freelancing, because it kind of requires you to confront your client and sort of like make your demands clear. But I can assure you, having a concise but a thorough contract is in your best interest and theirs. It helps to ensure that you guys are on the same page and you know what you're expecting of each other. Even if you are brand new to freelancing and haven't yet been paid for your services, whether you're a writer or a graphic designer or whatever, you should still approach new clients with a contract before you'll begin working. Full disclosure, in case it wasn't already obvious, I'm not a lawyer, obviously. I'm just going to share with you tips I've picked up along the way and things that are always in my contract. There are lots of free templates online that you can just download and kind of plug in your own information. So I encourage you to check those out. And also, it never hurts to sit down with a lawyer, cough up a little money, and make sure that you're protected and that your contract is, ironclad. Is that what they say? You get the idea. All right, let's get right into it. Here are 7 things I suggest you always include in your freelance contract. The first is what the client agrees to pay, when, and how. Of course, you want to include in your contract what they're agreeing to pay you so that you guys are both clear on your rates. Maybe you have an hourly rate, maybe you're giving them a flat rate for the full project. While we're talking about rates, if you're not sure how to set your rates, which is totally understandable because it's kind of tricky, I'm going to link to a video above in one of these corners, and go check that out, and I will tell you how to start coming up with your rates as a freelancer. So the contract should cover what they're going to pay you. It should also cover when they're going to pay you. Are you going to charge them up front, upon completion, a little bit of both? Sometimes, depending on the project, I'll ask for half up front, half upon completion. Are they paying you at the end of the week, at the end of the month? Also, how much time do they have to pay you? Is it due upon receipt? Do they have a week to pay you? Is it net 30, or they have a month to pay you? That was the third part of this point, how they should pay you. PayPal, paper check, direct deposit, wire transfer. These days, there are so many ways that you can get paid, which is great. But you guys need to be on the same page about how you're going to do this. This is also important because depending on the method that you use for payment, there might be a fee. And you need to figure out who's going to be responsible for the fee, you or them. If the fee is on your end, for instance, I pay the fee when I invoice through PayPal, then you might want to consider factoring that into your rates. Those fees can add up. Also, depending on the state you're in, I believe you can deduct those as an expense. Go ask your CPA about that. How you're going to get paid, it's really important that you figure this out ahead of time, especially if you're going to be working with clients outside of your own country. Things can get a little blurry when you go into other countries. It's not a big deal. I've got lots of clients in other countries, but again, do your due diligence and figure this out ahead of time. Put it in your contract. All right, that was the first point, kind of a 3-part point. What, when, and how they're going to pay you. The second thing that you should have in your contract is the scope of work and the timeline. What does your work include? What specific tasks are you going to complete? Break it down. If you're going to write an ebook, don't just say ebook. What's the word count? How many chapters roughly? Are you including edits in this rate? If you are, you should raise your rates a little bit. And especially when we're talking about bigger projects, having a kind of specified timeline is going to be really important. I can't talk today. Let's use the example of an ebook. If you are going to write a lengthy ebook for a client, this is something that could take weeks, if not months. So let's say, for instance, you're going to spend 2 months on it. You don't want your contract to be like, okay, in 2 months, I'm going to deliver a completed ebook. That leaves way too much room for things to get messy. With bigger projects, you want to have like designated deliverables and turn into them pieces of the project along the way. So maybe it's 2 chapters at a time or 1,000 words at a time. You should be checking in with them fairly regularly to make sure that you're doing everything the way they want it, and also to save yourself a huge headache later, because obviously if you turn in a whole ebook that they end up hating, then you have way more to fix, as opposed if you just give them like 1,000 or 2,000 words and they tell you, oh no, don't do it this way, do it this way. You can kind of nip those problems in the bud. The third thing you should include in your contract is a little statement saying that you own the work until they pay you for it, at which point they become the owners. And you do this so that should you get one of those problem clients, which happens even to the best freelancers, you have something protecting you, saying that they can't do anything with that content until they pay you for it. The fourth thing you should include in your contract, I touched on this earlier, but it's worth another mention, how many edits your rates include. You do this to protect yourself so that you don't have a client coming back asking you to make insane edits that take hours upon hours upon hours and you're not compensated for them. My contract, personally, my rates include up to 3 edits. The fifth thing to put in your contract is what happens if they pay you late. This means that you need to specify how much time they have to pay you, and then after that time passes, what happens? Do you charge interest? Is there a flat fee? What are you gonna do? Some people opt to do nothing. They don't tack on any extra fees. It's really up to you how you go about that. The sixth thing to put in your contract is what happens if they cancel in the middle of the project. Hopefully this won't happen to you. It's never happened to me, not that I can recall, but you do want to put it in there just to protect yourself. If you are 10 hours into a project, if you're developing someone's website, which is very time consuming, and you've done like 10 or 12 hours of work and they come back to you and they're like, whoa, we completely misjudged this. It's not in our budget. We're not ready, whatever their reason may be. What happens? Do you still charge them? Some of this, might already be taken care of. Maybe they were already paying you as you go. But again, depending on how you're requiring them to pay you, like let's say you're designing someone's website and you say that they don't have to pay you until completion and you get 10 hours in. So really at that point, you haven't gotten a dime. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna charge them for the 10 hours of work? Are you gonna charge them for half? How are you gonna handle that? The seventh and final thing you should have in your contract is what happens if you decide to back out of it. Don't take this lightly. You shouldn't be bailing on clients or flaking for silly reasons. The only 2 reasons I can think of that, reasons you'd wanna do this are either if some kind of emergency comes up and you really can't take on the project anymore, or if you end up with a client who ends up being horrible to work with. Still, it should be in your contract what your commitment is or is not should you decide to back out. Do you give them notice? Do you complete the week, complete the month? Do you prorate them? Remember, contracts are there to protect you and your client. This isn't just about making sure that you're safe and you don't get taken advantage of. Don't look at it as you against the client. A contract is something that you do so that everyone is happy and safe, and also so that you're both very, very clear on all of the details, the nitty-gritty. That's it. Those are the 7 things I suggest you put in your contract. If you have any questions about this, just drop me a comment. I always respond. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next video.